Greetings, everyone. Bernie Sanders has now raised over $35 million in the presidential race. And he can stay in the race as long as he needs to, as long as he wants to. He can be in until the very last state, until the very last vote is counted. And that enables him to do that, raising that much money. Candidates like Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, they're maxing out with their big donors, because what happens is there's a federal amount that each person can actually donate to a candidate. And when you keep maxing out with basically just the wealthiest people and rich people, that can only take you so far. While Bernie Sanders is basically capitalizing because the same people can keep coming to him over and over and over again, donating at small amounts. And there's more of us. There's more of us that can keep coming to him over and over again. He's only going to succeed. But now the mainstream media, they're finally starting to accept it. They have to accept it. They're starting to talk about it more and more, but watching Morning Joe comes out and says, Pete Buttigieg does well in the fourth quarter fundraising. Look at how he's doing. Pete Buttigieg is one of the last candidates in terms of fundraising. The only people that are really keeping Pete Buttigieg alive is the big donor class. They want him to do well, him and Amy Klobuchar, but they kind of abandoned Klobuchar because they understand that she's sleepy in Klobuchar. She's not going to offer any type of change or any type of revolutionary change to America. She's going to uphold the status quo and keep on going with this neoliberalism politics that we've come to understand and comprehend under people like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and now Joe Biden. We will not stand for this. Bernie Sanders will be our next president, but they just don't get that. So yeah, they're constantly trying to push other candidates in your face, constantly trying to say that they're better and they're best equipped to take on Donald Trump. I don't want to sound like a broken record again in this video, but like I keep saying, Bernie Sanders was beating Donald Trump by 12 points in 2016 election day. So he's already raised the most amount of money. He keeps breaking records. He's been broke Barack Obama's fundraising record in terms of grassroots support, because Bernie Sanders has actual real grassroots support. Bernie Sanders has more grassroots support in this day and age, because you combine that with the internet crowd on top of real crowds. Bernie Sanders is a real threat, because there's actually more people that support him that really don't even get to come out to his rallies and events, but they support him digitally by donating to his campaign and just supporting him through a digital sense. Bernie Sanders will win this election, hands down. And another reason why Bernie Sanders is starting to gain a lot more traction and things of that nature, especially with minorities, is because when he legalizes marijuana, he wants the people that have been disproportionately affected by this harsh war on drugs that was started by Ronald Reagan and exacerbated under the Clinton administration with the guidance of Joe Biden, and that maintained through the Obama administration as well. But anyways, Bernie Sanders wants to ensure that minorities that have been affected by going to jail, by serving jail time for decades, just for a little joint or a little blunt, he wants them to make money off of this whole entire situation by giving back in the sense of reparations, in the form of actually capitalizing off of the legalization off of this that they have really ridiculed and skewed since the beginning of time, because they understand that mainly minorities are the ones who love it, and it helps them with their creativity, helps us with our creativity in terms of going about life. And they don't like that. They hate that, and they see it as a threat. And with the war on drugs, and with marijuana being a Schedule I drug, seen as the same type of drug as heroin, what they have done is simply criminalize people on felony charges, all because they want to smoke weed, basically. And there's people still serving jail time because of this, still. This is a problem in America. While other states, people are walking around free smoking. That's a problem. Bernie Sanders wants to ensure that everyone that has been affected by marijuana will basically, in some way, shape, or form, benefit from this whole entire legalization mania that is happening right before us. That's Bernie Sanders. While everyone else just wants to legalize it and simply have real hardcore federal regulation in the sense of eliminating the black market and simply cutting them off. What this is doing is simply bridging the gap between the black market and the federal government, so that the black market can simply thrive, because the black market is mainly minorities and, quite frankly, people who have made an industry of their own in the sense of actual residual income. So these are a lot of the reasons why Bernie is starting to do well now in terms of the mainstream media, but he's always been doing well. I've always been saying this. This has always been the case. Bernie Sanders has been winning this election since day one. The mainstream media has simply not wanted you to understand that and believe that, because they keep trying to push other candidates in your face. Kind of like what they did with Hillary Clinton, and they did a relatively good job. And they indirectly did that with Donald Trump, covering him, thinking that this is going to cause him bad blowback. You have to understand, any coverage is good coverage. Any publicity is good publicity. And Donald Trump understood that. He just didn't use that in the sense of actually helping people. Bernie Sanders wants to actually help people. And he gets the mainstream media behind him and the full weight of the Democratic Party behind him. Nothing will stand in his way. So we're 1 month away from Iowa, and then after Iowa is New Hampshire, and then after New Hampshire it's South Carolina, then after South Carolina it's Nevada, and then we're gonna get in the full swing of this and really see how Bernie's gonna win this, because Bernie Sanders is gonna win. He's gonna win. He's the Bobby Kennedy of our generation right now, and it's ironic because Bobby Kennedy was transformational candidate that transcended color lines and generations simply because of his hardcore progressive message, simply trying to bridge the gap between the radical left and the government and move forward in actually reforming the system. Bernie Sanders is actually doing that, stepping right into that mantle, revolutionize our country. And that's why he's going to become the president. I believe he will win Iowa. I don't really believe it will be close, to be quite frankly honest with you, because right now, what's happening right now, which is why Elizabeth Warren is kind of scared and why Obama's trying to save her a little bit, the progressive wing of the party is coalescing around Bernie Sanders because we're not dumb. They've tried to simply put Elizabeth Warren in front of us, a puppet of Barack Obama and the Democratic Party. They've tried to put her in front of us and tried to, quite frankly, sell her to us. She's got a plan for that when she doesn't have a plan for the most important issues of progressive politics. So this is why Bernie Sanders is going to win. The progressive wing of the party is already coalesced around him. He's starting to actually bring even over voters that aren't progressives within the Democratic Party. He's bringing over independents. He wins independents by large margins. It's not even close. And when you combine all that together with Generation Z coming into full swing of voting in terms of the voting bloc for the very first time, on top of the millennial base of voting, with our political ideology, which is dominant among the country, Bernie Sanders will win. He's won every single debate in my eyes. And you can say, well, that's Bernie biased. I'm not going in the debate subjectively. I'm going in objectively. He's winning them because he's focusing on policy every single time, and all his positions are the best. Literally, all his positions are the best. The mainstream media won't frame it that way, which is why we need more progressives within the mainstream media to change the way we view media. But nevertheless, Bernie Sanders has won every single debate because simply he has the best positions, the best policy positions, every single one. He wants non-interventionist foreign policy politics. He wants to focus on America and fix our trade policy to help farmers and to help everyday Americans. He wants to socialize medicine and socialize our government by helping everyday Americans. He wants to give reparations to African Americans in the form of educational aspects, maybe not more so in the form of direct payment. He hasn't really said that he'll go that far, but I'm pretty sure he's open to it, and he has expressed interest in being open to that and wants more studies in that aspect. But he is open to reparations in the form of actually having ways that African Americans can achieve wealth and actually prosper in America. He's just the candidate to beat right now. He's the candidate that's going to win. I believe he is the front runner. He is the front runner because the numbers are showing it, and the mainstream media doesn't really want to accept it, but the numbers show it. The numbers, which is what they love to go by. Money, how much money? Money, money, money. And not just the money, he combines the money with his message. He had already won in places like Michigan and Wisconsin when he won against Hillary Clinton the first time. Hillary Clinton, which was a juggernaut of a campaign both times she ran, but even more so in 2016 because she had the Democratic Party on lock, and he still managed to beat her in crucial states that end up becoming important in the general election that she lost. Michigan, Wisconsin, like, come on now. Those are the states that gave Donald Trump the presidential election. We have to win Michigan and Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton failed to bring out the Democratic base. Bernie Sanders beat her in those two states in the primaries and nearly beat her in Iowa. Virtual tie, if you ask me, then beat her in New Hampshire. And Hillary Clinton won because she had the older generation on lock in terms of the Democratic voting bloc and the Democratic Party, which is why she ran it up all throughout the South, which is how Barack Obama won his nomination, him being the first African-American candidate, and he won in places that are far more progressive. And this is how he outlasted Hillary Clinton, because he proved to be the progressive in his race, but he wasn't a real progressive when he ran on hope and change and did none of that, literally. He just upheld the status quo and did what default generic Democrats do. Advance the agenda of the social aspect of our society, but not actually financially in the form of revolutionary change. He did not do that. Bernie 2020, here we come.